Hello everyone, we are Team Tensor and we've been collaborating with Pacific Northwest National Laboratories to implement RMAX. RMAX is a high-level C++ interface over MPI-RMA, with MPI being a message passing interface which provides a means of exchanging messages between multiple processes. Some of our overall goals for RMAX include to improve runtime of parallel processes as well as decoupling communication and synchronization. Some goals for this sprint include further development on our test cases in order to have a 100% passing rate, as well as further exploration with concepts.
So for this demo, we're going to focus a little bit more on the tooling that we built around RMAX rather than the actual RMAX implementation, because that's what we focused a little bit more on this sprint. And so one of the main things we did is switch our build system from makefiles to CMake, because CMake gives a lot more of a presentable output, but also more configurable output that we really needed and wanted for a more professional looking interface. And so this is the build output where we can see step by step what the build is and how its status went, which is really important, especially when we have so many test cases. And similarly, we can see the kind of same thing for all of our test cases here with a benchmark of the time that it took to run, which again just helps us while we're debugging and building. But all of this took a little bit more time just because switching from makefiles, where we have a lot of low-level control, to CMake, where kind of by default there's a lot of boxes were put in right out of the gate. We need to do a lot more custom implementations within the CMake confines. So this took quite a bit of time for our sprint. But luckily, at the end of all this, we were able to get all of our tests passing, which is a huge accomplishment considering that we added a lot of test cases, as well as made a lot of really big changes last sprint to kind of the library as a whole. So to get all of them passing, even locally, is a big step for us. But also, we were able to get all of the same results on our remote CI with GitHub Actions, which again is huge because that's running on a completely different platform than we usually develop on. And so it was another hurdle to cross, but getting all of the tests passing means that we now have a kind of usable API that people can actually interact with if they choose to, and know that it is safe to use, basically, as well as some of the other changes we made just to this README file with badges that kind of, again, lend itself more to a professional, actually in production interface that we've built, rather than the previous implementation, which didn't have a lot of information in the README. And so kind of both of these are things we intend to iterate with over time and make more and more usable and readable for a user so that they can learn how to use RMAX from the ground up.
Hello everyone, my name is Blake and today we'll be going over activities in progress for Team Tensor. This sprint, with features finally being complete, we got to work together, which was a really nice break from having to work in two separate teams. While we no longer had to focus on adding new features, we were finally able to focus on reliability and fixing bugs in our code. And this led us to victory. We finally got our CI/CD pipeline passing, all 74 test cases. Some of the bugs we ran into were a lot more difficult to find and fix. The most challenging to find, in my opinion, was that certain versions of Ubuntu would cause one of our test cases to fail. This was a nightmare to find and a challenge in fixing. And so far, our only fix is just to make sure we're using the right versions of Ubuntu. What's next for Team Tensor? Well, we still want to get ranges and concepts in, as they could be incredibly useful features to some people. We would also like to get an applications test or an application demo fully functional so that we could better show off the utility and the usefulness of RMAX. We would also like to get documentation done as one of our stretch goals. RMAX is confusing and documentation can make it a lot easier for our future potential users. Thank you all for watching our video this sprint, and I hope you have a wonderful day.